Hello and welcome to my first attempt at a YouTube Football Manager video. I'm Kev. If you're watching this, I guess you probably know who I am from the Mature Gamer podcast, or maybe as Lollujo on Twitter. And if you do know me from either of those places, you'll know that I generally have spent, on average, 500 or 600 hours a year over the last 20 years playing Football Manager and Championship Manager games. 5 or 6 years ago, I had quite a long on-running thread on the Sports Interactive Lower League Manager forums until I was hounded out of there for winning. Basically, they didn't like the fact I won, and we won't get into that. That's all very complicated. And yeah, I thought it would be fun to have a little play around with some YouTube Football Manager videos. I plan to do a new long-term save similar to my one from Football Manager 2009 that I had on the Sports Interactive forums when FM15 comes out in a month or so. And so really this video, or this series of videos, is going to be about me learning how to do all this YouTube stuff, because I'm a bit old, don't really know what I'm doing. So bear with me. Please use the comments box to tell me the bits you like and the bits you don't like and what I need to fix, and mock the graphics. I realise they're rubbish, but I have a bit of a habit of, when I get one of these harebrained schemes in my head, spending too much money on it. So I'm deliberately not spending any money on this until I know people actually like what I'm doing and are subscribing and liking the videos. So yeah, the graphics will get fixed at some point, the channel art will get fixed at some point, hopefully. But for now, use the comments to mock me. It's fine. I have a thick skin. I've been on the internet for a long time. So what I'm going to be doing, this save will be running pretty much all the way up until the Football Manager 16 launch date. I'm not really one for playing in betas, so I'm probably not going to be doing anything for the FM16 beta. So this is going to run me all the way through for the next month or so, until Football Manager 16 comes out. And I've decided to play as my favourite club, Peterborough United, mainly because I've not really played as them very much on FM15. I started, as I always do, deep in the lower leagues, I always pick the team closest to my house, which was Boston United at the moment. I sort of played through. I eventually made it to Posh, but not until I think it was 7 or 8 seasons into the game, by which point all the players had moved on. So what I've done is I've downloaded an update for the squads, which is, I don't know if it tells me what the update name is in here. You can see this is professionalism now. It doesn't tell me. I found it on the internet. I googled updates, so I'm sure I can put the details to that in the comments. But basically, it's the updated teams for the whole of England as of pretty much the end of the transfer window this summer. And I've just stuck myself in as manager. So we're starting here on my manager profile screen. There's a picture of me looking very good in my, you can see my work lanyard on as well. I've basically just kept all the standard settings on there. So I've ticked the box that says set them according to what's appropriate for Peterborough. So as you can see, my coaching and mental attributes are all pretty much level. I've got my favoured formation in there. Sometimes that attacking midfielder becomes a defensive midfielder, but on the whole, for the last 4 or 5 years now, Football Manager, I've always played with 1 striker and wingers, and then some variation of a 3 in midfield. That's my current preferred one. I also like the fact that all of the managers of the local rivals seem to dislike me, which is excellent, especially Carl Robinson over at MK Dons, because it's not a real football club. Oh, sorry, MK Dons fans, but it's not a real football club, so I'm not that sorry. If we have a look in the squad, because I've literally just started this game up, I'm a little disappointed that it's not quite got everybody in it. If I just make this so that it's just the senior squad, so we don't have to look for all the youth team players. There's a couple of bits that aren't quite right on this update, and I was tempted to go and dabble in the data editor and make it all correct. But I would be too tempted to fiddle with player stats and stuff too much. So I'm just going to go with what this is. So, for example, he's not at the club anymore, Jimmy Walker. It's got one of our loan players, Alex Davey, but it's not got the left back we've got on loan at the moment. He doesn't seem to be there. This guy, Andrew Fox, is the wrong Andrew Fox. We do have a player called Andrew Fox, but it's not this fella. I've actually looked in the database, and the one we have doesn't exist, so I guess they've just found a player called Andrew Fox who wasn't with a club and moved him into Posh. Our guy's much younger and is a left back, but he doesn't get in the team anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Rather disappointingly, our current emerging star, Lee Angol, he's not very good, which is a bit of a shame. But then he's only played 6 or 7 games in real life. He scored that many goals as well, but I guess when this was put together, he was still someone who'd never played in the Football League, so that can only be expected. And probably most disappointing of all, I've only been podcasting for 6 years. I should be able to speak into a microphone. Suleiman Koulibaly is nowhere to be seen, so we're a striker down as well. But yeah, on the whole, as in real life, I guess, because it's an up-to-date squad listing, it looks pretty weak, especially defensively. I mean, we've got 2 fullbacks. That's it at the club. And one of them's only 20. He's pretty good, Cozzy and Clay. But yeah, so we've got him as a left back, although he's disappearing on international duty, and I don't know if there's an African Nations Cup this season, but if there is, he'll disappear off with South Africa again, and that's potentially a month without him. So we could have 1 fullback for a month, and that's assuming they both stay fit. And then this guy, Michael Smith, he's pretty good in real life, but in the game, it looks like my assistant manager doesn't really rate him. Who, by the way, is not the current Posh assistant manager. We've got Gavin Strachan and Gary Breen are still knocking around the club in this version of the database. They both went with Fergie last year when he got sacked, and there's no sign at all of Grant McCann, who's our current assistant manager, which is a bit of a shame. Defensively, Bostwick still has his position wrong. He was playing as a centre-back for us for a little while, well, for a couple of seasons probably, but has since moved back into his proper position of midfield. But the game doesn't really seem to want to recognise that, although if we look at his stats for central midfield, they are still not too bad. So I might end up playing him in midfield anyway. His passing's not great, but then that's not really what he does in midfield. He's in there to be the enforcer and basically throw his weight around a little bit. So I might push him up into midfield, which then leaves us with not very much in the way of centre-backs. Ricardo Santos is playing for us in real life, and again, because he's just an 18-year-old kid who'd not played very much when this data was sorted, he's not very good in the game. Midfield, if we have a look at who we've got, why sorted this by position? Why does it seem like there's players missing? Where's Jack Collison? Well, that's frustrating. Is he not there at all? Is he another one who's missing? Or is he in the reserves? Oh, he's in the reserves. Excellent. That's how much they expect him to get a game. Obviously, he is... he's injured for 4 to 6 months, which is, in real life, he manages to drag himself onto the bench every week. He limps there, but he manages to get involved. But I guess I've got to be without him for the first 6 months of the save at least, which means my midfield options, bearing in mind I've already said I like to play 5 in midfield, are pretty limited. We've got Jermaine Anderson, who again is just a kid, and he's about the only option in central midfield. And then, as usual with Posh, there's a few wingers, plenty of wingers, or attacking players. Our most creative attacking player, Marcus Maddison, again, really poorly rated in this database, as is Erhan Ostema. And then forward-wise, I guess we've got just the one option in Connor Washington. So the squad is looking pretty poor. Media prediction-wise, we're looking for 6th place finish. I can't see where it says it on here. But that was what I was told I was supposed to get. And when I had my little pre-season chat with the squad and said, fingers crossed we'll meet the playoffs, they all had a hissy fit and said they wanted automatic promotion. And looking at that squad, they're clearly a confident bunch. The one positive there is, though, is there's quite a bit of money in the kitty. There's £1.4 million in the transfer budget and 7-ish grand spare cash in the wage budget. So realistically, with the sort of wages a club of this size spend of 2 or 3 grand a week, I kind of need to get 2, maybe 3 players with that money. So I could pick up 2 or 3 half-decent League One players, possibly bring in a couple of free transfers and maybe convert some of this transfer budget into wage budget. I haven't had a look at what players are available yet, so that's something we'll have a look at when my scouts start bringing some recommendations to me. I don't like the player search screen. I don't ever use it. I'll get into that in later videos, no doubt, but I am going to be relying purely on what my scouts present me with. So at the moment, I'm not going out and snapping up all of the free transfers that are probably out there because I don't know they exist. Bank balance of the club's looking pretty healthy. Nearly £5 million in there. Although rather worryingly, if we look at the projection for the season, although there's nearly nearly 5 million in the kitty at the moment, it's predicted that by the end of the season, we're going to be down to -1 million. Then the next season -6. So we're basically losing £5 million a season, which again is probably fairly similar to reality. The club are quite open about the fact that they need to sell 1 or 2 big value players every year to balance the books, and I guess that means my options are get promoted straight away or make £5 million profit in transfer fees this year, which, looking at that squad, if I spend £1 million in this transfer window, looking at that, I'm not really sure where another £6 million worth of sales in the summer are going to come from. And if I do manage, I mean, you're basically looking at selling the 3 or 4 best players, I imagine, to get anywhere near 6 million. And then there's no way we're going up next year. So it pretty much is leaving me in the situation of we've got to get promoted this season or financial disaster leading to all the players leaving. Not good. So although the board are saying that they want me to sort of challenge. Where's that? There we go. So the board are asking me to challenge for promotion. Realistically, we've got to actually go out and get it and get promoted this season, or it could all go badly wrong. That's where I'm going to leave it for this video, I think. I've had a little tour around the club. What's going to happen in my next... I'm going to go ahead and get on with the pre-season now, sort out some training and tactics, and some friendlies, because there aren't any on there at the moment. I'm playing the under-21s tomorrow, but then there's nothing. But then my next video will be a recap of that transfer window. So the players that have come in and gone out, and bits and bobs like that. And then I'll also do the full live commentary on the Chesterfield match, the first game of the season, and then see where we are from there. So, as I said at the start, I would appreciate your comments, positive and negative, in the comments box below. And obviously, if you did enjoy the video, make sure you tick the like box, and maybe even a cheeky little subscribe would go down nicely. Cheers.